What if one day, you discovered that every decision you didn't make was still happening somewhere else? Ethan had never really thought about the small choices in life, like taking a different road, saying something he held back, or walking away instead of staying. He always believed that once a decision was made, every other possibility simply disappeared, as if it had never existed, until one night he received a notification on his phone from an app he had never seen before. There was no name, no icon, just a black screen with a single line of text: "Other versions of you are still living there. Lives you didn't choose." Ethan frowned, thinking it was some kind of glitch or strange ad, but before he could close it, another line appeared: "Would you like to see?" He hesitated for a moment, but curiosity took over and he tapped yes. The screen went completely dark, then slowly lit up again, revealing what looked like a live video feed, but it wasn't from anywhere he recognized. It was his apartment, but slightly different, cleaner, brighter, and then he saw himself walking into the room, but not exactly himself. This version of him looked more confident, more relaxed, like someone who wasn't constantly exhausted. Ethan stared in disbelief as that version of him laughed while talking on the phone, something he hadn't done in a long time, and then it hit him. This was a version of him who had made different choices, small ones that had changed everything. Suddenly the app switched to another feed, another version. This one looked older, more serious, sitting alone in a much larger but emptier apartment, staring at a screen with tired eyes. Then another, a version of him living in a different city, surrounded by people, smiling, alive, and for the first time in his life Ethan felt something strange, not exactly regret, but awareness, the realization that his life wasn't just one path, but many, and all the others were still happening somewhere. Continuing without him, days passed and Ethan became obsessed. Every night he opened the app, watching different versions of himself, some happier, some worse, some living lives he could barely imagine. At first it felt harmless, just curiosity, just observing, but then something changed. One night he noticed something unusual. One of the versions of him was looking directly at the camera, as if he could see Ethan watching. Ethan froze, his heart racing, because that had never happened before. All the other versions had simply lived their lives unaware, but this one stopped, walked closer to the screen, and whispered something Ethan couldn't hear. The audio was muted, but the lips were moving slowly, deliberately, and then the screen went black. The next day Ethan couldn't stop thinking about it, so that night he opened the app again, searching for that same version, scrolling through countless feeds until he finally found him, and this time, the moment he appeared, the other version smiled, as if he had been waiting, and suddenly the audio turned on, and Ethan heard his own voice, clear, calm, but slightly different. "You finally noticed." Ethan dropped his phone for a second before picking it back up, his hands shaking, his mind racing, unable to process what was happening, and the voice continued, "We've been watching you too." A cold chill ran down Ethan's spine, because in that moment he realized something terrifying. He wasn't the only one looking into other lives. They were looking back at him. After that everything began to change, small things at first, but this time in his own reality. Objects were no longer where he left them. Messages appeared on his phone that he didn't remember typing, and one night he woke up and looked into the mirror, only to see his reflection standing a second too late, as if it couldn't keep up with him anymore. Ethan tried to stop using the app, but every night at the same time his phone would light up on its own, the screen turning on, the app opening by itself, showing different versions of him each time, some watching, some smiling, some trying to say something, until one night the screen didn't show a video at all. It showed a message, just one line: "It's your turn." Ethan's heart pounded as he slowly stepped back, but before he could react, the screen changed again, showing his own room exactly as it was in that moment, except there was someone standing behind him, holding a phone, watching him. Ethan slowly turned around, but there was no one there, nothing but silence, and when he looked back at the screen, the other version of him smiled, raised his hand, and waved, and in that moment Ethan understood something he wished he had never known. Those weren't just different lives, they weren't just possibilities, they were watching, waiting, learning how to become him, and sooner or later, one of them was going to take his place. So tell me, if you knew another version of you was living a better life, would you watch, or would you be afraid of being watched back? And if you enjoy stories like this, stories that make you question reality itself, don't forget to subscribe, because the next story might feel a little too real.